Hi everyone. I welcome you to remembering that we have less than 2 months now to your chapter. And I want to just put in a little invitation here to the communal contemplation that is troubling some members of the community. It is a new invitation, it's a new way to do things. So I thought this would be a good time, since we hope to use this also in the chapter at some points, to invite you to consider, reconsider, and think about what you are entering into at the invitation that the committee sent out with my advice to really enter into a group intention setting for the chapter. To me, this is a sign that real transformation is taking place. Remember, transformation is not change. Change is something we decide, we think about, we set it up, we plan it. Transformation is not that. We don't choose transformation. It happens in a larger sense, a deeper sense. In fact, transformation chooses us. This is what has happened in all of religious life. We know that transformation has several stages to it. And the first one is the disintegration of the old. And this is really difficult to accept. And yet we've all been living it for a while now. We have reactions to it. We don't know what's going on. We didn't plan it. And we go into a dark place that sometimes is characterized by, argumentativeness, defensiveness, trying to explain things away. Really, it's about not knowing what has happened. And after a while of this, some longer than others, we begin to see a new potential. And I think that's what the stage is that we are all at now, not just your community. And we begin to see new connections. And I think you, as a congregation, have already begun to see new connections. And we start to see ourselves differently, and that's what reintegration of the changes are. And then we become more comfortable with the new. And I think we can all look back at the time of Vatican II and the changes we went through then and see those stages playing out very well. But we are now at a new stage. And that new stage of disintegration is what we don't know what's ahead of us. Teilhard de Chardin in The Divine Milieu once said, "In our younger years, we divinize our activities, whereas in later phases of life, the invitation is to divinize our passivities or hallow one's diminishments. We ask for the grace of diminishment." And there is, in a way, in these times, for all congregations whom I know and belong to and work with, we are asking for the grace of diminishment. And that's what I'm inviting you to consider now, between now and chapter itself. So the invitation to sit together in silent contemplation is really an opportunity to share a common receptivity. We are better being active than receptive. We were all trained to be very active, and yet being receptive, especially in prayer, is not familiar to many of us yet. But when we are, God comes into our hearts readily and deeply. We don't need to know words or to speak them. We only need to be receptive. Thus, the presence of God builds in us. So that said, I invite you to participate in this invitation to come together as we've asked, or not to participate. It's really up to you. This is not a mandate. This is not something, that's absolute, that, you're going to change the chapter if you don't participate. None of that. This is just an invitation. Whatever you choose is perfectly fine. Please don't receive this invitation as a mandate, a necessity for the chapter. It isn't at all. And it's perfectly fine for you not to do it, not to participate. All I would ask is that you notice and work with your own resistance in whatever way you choose, and to be at peace with whatever you choose. Bring peace into the congregation by your choice. The peace is what's needed most. The receptivity of God's presence. That's what we ask for at the chapter. That we are all receptive to God's presence, and that we receive and we decide and we converse with one another out of a sense of that presence. So let us echo Teilhard again when he says, let us also divinize our diminishments. Let us also divinize our diminishments. Thank you, and I'll see you in a couple of months.